The screen glowed with fire as the headline flashed. Emma Carter breaks down on live television. The crowd online devoured it. Emma Carter said, "Please stop, this is not who I am." But her trembling voice became fuel. Josh Miller said, "This is the clip everyone is laughing at." His words echoed across feeds. Emma Carter's tears were looped endlessly, replayed with captions mocking her. Olivia Reed said, "Why are they turning this moment into a joke?" But laughter drowned her defense. The betrayal spread quickly, reshared by people who once praised Emma Carter's strength. Emma Carter said, "How can strength be erased in one moment of weakness?" The mob did not answer. Her career headlines burned with hashtags. Emma Carter's silence stretched as each notification on her phone struck like a stone. Olivia Reed said, "They will not remember the battles you won, only the moment you broke." Emma Carter stared at the glowing screen, her eyes red, her body still, her name shredded into a meme. Emma Carter sat in her dark apartment, screens glowing with countless memes of her tears. Olivia Reed said, "They never loved your strength, Emma, only the spectacle of your fall." Daniel Carter scrolled silently, his eyes fixed anywhere but on her face. Emma Carter said, "Every headline slices deeper." The silence of Daniel Carter was louder than words. Olivia Reed whispered, "Your silence is what keeps them laughing." Emma Carter closed her eyes, feeling her body collapse under invisible weight. Josh Miller uploaded another clip, laughing as comments surged. Josh Miller said, "She thought tears would save her, but they built her coffin." Emma Carter sat still, her phone buzzing endlessly. Olivia Reed said, "Why do you let them own your name?" Emma Carter's silence was heavy, her tears unspoken answers. In the office, Emma Carter's co-workers whispered. Screens displayed her breakdown like breaking news. Emma Carter walked past, shoulders tight, eyes low. Olivia Reed said, "Hold your head up." Emma Carter said, "There's no strength left to hold." Their footsteps echoed through the tense silence. Emma Carter stood in front of a mirror, her reflection fractured by cracks in the glass. Emma Carter said, "This is the face they broke." Olivia Reed behind her whispered, "Not broken, Emma, just human." Daniel Carter stood in doorway, silent, expression unreadable. Emma Carter stared longer, as if waiting for her reflection to answer. Emma Carter sat in her childhood room surrounded by trophies, certificates and faded posters. Emma Carter said, "They once cheered my name." Olivia Reed touched the dusty medals and said, "They still remember your victories." Daniel Carter leaned against the door, silent as usual, eyes fixed on the floor. Emma Carter said, "All they see now are tears, not the battles I fought." Olivia Reed said, "You were never just the scandal, Emma." The room echoed with memories of applause long gone. Emma Carter whispered, "Applause fades faster than shame." Daniel Carter sighed, but gave no words, his silence colder than any insult. Emma Carter stared at her reflection in the old mirror, feeling the cruel contrast between who she was and who she had become. Emma Carter walked through a park where once she gave inspiring speeches. Children played in the distance, unaware of the woman once adored. Emma Carter said, "This stage gave me my voice." Olivia Reed said, "The stage remembers you even if the crowd forgets." Emma Carter's hand traced the wooden podium where her words once ignited hope. Daniel Carter watched from afar, phone in hand, scrolling as if to escape her shadow. Emma Carter said, "They used to chant, not jeer." Olivia Reed said, "The heart of those moments still beats, Emma." But Emma Carter felt the emptiness in the air where applause had been stolen. Emma Carter opened an old scrapbook filled with articles, clippings, and fan letters. Emma Carter said, "They called me fearless." Olivia Reed said, "They were right then, and they are wrong now." Emma Carter's hands trembled as she touched a child's drawing of her with a crown. Daniel Carter flipped through his phone, unmoved, muttering nothing. Emma Carter whispered, "I was their hero until one tear turned me into their entertainment." Olivia Reed said, Heroes fall, Emma, but they also rise. The scrapbook pages fluttered like fragile ghosts of admiration. Emma Carter stood outside her old school, the building tall and unchanged. Emma Carter said, "I once believed nothing could break me here." Olivia Reed said, "This place shaped your fire." Students walked past, whispering, glancing at their phones. Daniel Carter avoided their stares, pretending to be invisible. Emma Carter touched the brick wall, remembering the day she promised to fight for others. Emma Carter whispered, "How do I fight when I am the one destroyed?" Olivia Reed said, "Strength is not about never breaking, Emma. It is about surviving the break." The whispers of students echoed like faint accusations. Emma Carter returned to the small cafe where she once met loyal supporters. The seats were empty now, replaced with whispers of betrayal. Emma Carter said, "They once filled this place to hear my words." Olivia Reed said, "Their absence cannot erase the truth of who you were." The barista glanced at Emma Carter, but avoided eye contact. Daniel Carter tapped his phone, his silence louder than judgment. Emma Carter whispered, "The world erased my victories with one cruel meme." Olivia Reed said, "They cannot erase your soul." The empty chairs stood like tombstones of her past admiration. Emma Carter entered her office, the air colder than she remembered. The posters that once bore her smile were gone, leaving blank walls like erased history. Emma Carter said, "They erased me as if I never existed." Olivia Reed touched her arm and whispered, "They erased the walls, not you." Daniel Carter stood at the corner, his phone glowing in silence, his presence both close and distant. An email lay open on her desk, short and brutal. "Your contracts are terminated effective immediately." Emma Carter said, "I gave years, and I'm worth only one line." Olivia Reed clenched her fists and said, "They fear the mob more than they value loyalty." Emma Carter whispered, "Fear writes their decisions, not justice." Daniel Carter finally muttered, "Silence is safer for them, but it is poison for you." The room was thick with betrayal, and Emma Carter's name hung heavier in absence than it had in applause. Josh Miller's smirk glowed on countless screens as he uploaded another mocking video. Josh Miller said, "The world deserves a laugh, and she gave it for free." Emma Carter sat at home, the video auto-playing again and again, her tears frozen in digital replay. Emma Carter whispered, "Every laugh buys his fame, every tear sells my ruin." Olivia Reed gritted her teeth and said, "He profits from your pain, Emma." Daniel Carter scrolled aimlessly, his silence slicing deeper than any insult. Josh Miller's words echoed in feeds, stitched with cruel captions, edited to destroy. Emma Carter said, "He eats from the ashes of my name." Olivia Reed whispered, "Then we must expose him." Emma Carter's body stiffened, her breath shallow, the sound of laughter burning louder than thunder. Emma Carter answered her phone, her sponsor's voice flat, detached. Emma Carter said, "You promised to stand with me." The sponsor replied coldly, "Your image is poison now." Emma Carter's hand shook as the call ended with a dead click. Emma Carter said, "I built their empire, and now I burn alone." Olivia Reed's eyes blazed, her voice steady. "They run when fire grows, Emma, but their fear reveals their weakness." Emma Carter dropped her phone onto the floor, the sharp crack echoing like a final judgment. Daniel Carter leaned against the window, his gaze far away, face unreadable. Emma Carter whispered, "My worth was paper to them, now turned to ash." Olivia Reed said, "You are worth more than their cowardice." The silence after her words carried the weight of betrayal, louder than the storm outside. Emma Carter scrolled through her phone. Old posts resurfaced with twisted captions. Headlines accused her of sins she had never committed. Emma Carter said, "They dig graves out of shadows." Olivia Reed leaned closer, her voice fierce. "Truth does not matter to them, only fire." Emma Carter whispered, "Each headline buries me deeper." Daniel Carter sat at the foot of the bed, his silence weighing heavier than words. Notifications buzzed endlessly, each one another stone thrown. Emma Carter said, "I was never perfect, but I was never this lie." Olivia Reed said, "They want a monster, and they built you into one." Emma Carter pressed her face into her hands, the glow of the phone screen illuminating her tears. Emma Carter sat at the family dinner table, the clatter of plates replaced by whispers. Cousin muttered, "She is an embarrassment now." Emma Carter said, "Do you think I wanted this shame?" The silence of relatives cut deeper than the insult. Olivia Reed said, "She is still Emma, not your scandal." Daniel Carter ate quietly, his head bowed, his fork scraping against porcelain. Emma Carter whispered, "Even here, I am a stranger." Olivia Reed's voice grew sharp. "If loyalty dies at this table, it was never family." Emma Carter's mother glanced away, ashamed. Emma Carter said, "I bleed under your silence." The air grew heavy, the storm outside pressing against the glass, echoing the fracture inside the room. Emma Carter discovered a letter, slipped under her apartment door. Its words were jagged confessions about Josh Miller's betrayal. Emma Carter whispered, "It was never random. He wanted me destroyed." Olivia Reed said, "He pretended to be your ally, but he sharpened the knife." Daniel Carter read the paper silently, his face pale as the truth unraveled. Emma Carter's voice broke. Every headline was planted by his envy. Olivia Reed said, "He fed the mob with your tears." Daniel Carter muttered, "He always wanted your voice silenced." Emma Carter's hands shook, the paper crumpling. She said, "He was the shadow behind every laugh, the architect of my ruin." The air thickened with betrayal, heavier than any storm. Emma Carter stood before her wall of old photographs. Smiling snapshots showed Josh Miller standing beside her at events, his arm around her shoulder, their friendship immortalized in ink. Emma Carter whispered, "He stood beside me when I rose." Olivia Reed said, "And waited for you to fall." Daniel Carter turned away, unable to meet her gaze. Emma Carter pressed her forehead against the frame, voice trembling. She said, "His loyalty was a mask." Olivia Reed said, "He betrayed you for attention, Emma. He fed them the clips." Emma Carter's breath cracked. She whispered, "I called him brother. He called me a stepping stone." Silence filled the room, louder than screams. Emma Carter's inbox overflowed with leaked emails. Each message revealed Josh Miller, boasting about orchestrating her downfall. Emma Carter whispered, "He built my coffin with his words." Olivia Reed leaned closer and said, "Now you have the proof." Daniel Carter scrolled through the emails, his eyes widening with each subject line. Emma Carter's voice cracked, each line is a nail hammered by his hand. Olivia Reed said, "Then let the nails pierce him instead." Emma Carter trembled, torn between rage and despair. She whispered, "I trusted him with my secrets." Olivia Reed said, "He sold them for followers." Daniel Carter finally said, "The truth will spread, Emma." The laptop screen glowed like fire in the dark. Emma Carter turned to Olivia Reed, her eyes sharp with pain. Emma Carter said, "Why didn't you see this before?" Olivia Reed said, "Because I believed him too." Emma Carter whispered, "Everyone believed him except me." Daniel Carter stood between them, torn in silence. Emma Carter's face was wet with tears, but these were tears of betrayal, not shame. Emma Carter said, "He stood in shadows while I burned." Olivia Reed stepped forward and said, "Then we drag him into the light." Emma Carter's voice rose, "The world judged me guilty, while he laughed." Daniel Carter whispered, "Truth is louder when spoken." The room vibrated with anger and clarity. Emma Carter sat before her camera, its red light blinking. She whispered, "The world saw my tears, now they will hear the truth." Olivia Reed stood beside her, hand resting on the chair. Olivia Reed said, "This is your moment." Daniel Carter stood behind them, his posture steady for once. Emma Carter's voice shook, but carried fire. She said, "Josh Miller betrayed me, built his fame on my ruin, and fed lies to the mob." Olivia Reed said, "Let them hear your heart." Emma Carter's eyes blazed as she stared into the lens. She said, "You condemned me wrong, and you will know who set the fire." The recording captured not weakness but defiance. Emma Carter pressed upload, her video launching into the digital storm. Within minutes, it spread across timelines, screens glowing with her voice. Emma Carter said, "The truth is mine to tell, not his to twist." Olivia Reed whispered, "They are listening now, Emma, even those who laugh." Daniel Carter stood behind her, finally still, his silence no longer cold but steady. Josh Miller appeared on another live stream, mocking, spitting venom into the camera. Josh Miller said, "She hides behind pity." Yet cracks showed in his composure. Emma Carter leaned forward, her eyes burning. Emma Carter said, "He built fame on my pain, and I will not be silent." Olivia Reed said, "Your voice is louder than his cruelty." Daniel Carter whispered, "They see him now." The mob's laughter slowed, replaced with uneasy silence. The video no longer showed a victim, it revealed defiance, and the world began to shift. Emma Carter's video spread to talk shows, dissected like a battlefield wound. One host said, "She is reclaiming her voice." Another scoffed, "This is desperate." Emma Carter sat on her couch, fists clenched tight. Olivia Reed said, "They cannot deny your courage now." Emma Carter whispered, "Courage feels like drowning in fire." Daniel Carter sat stiffly, eyes on his phone, unable to look at her. Josh Miller ranted across another screen, his voice raw. Josh Miller shouted, "She lies to save herself." Emma Carter said, "The guilty scream, the loudest." The storm outside rattled the windows, lightning flashing across her reflection. Olivia Reed whispered, "The storm is outside, not inside you." Emma Carter's heart pounded, not with shame, but with fury, rising like thunder itself. Emma Carter stepped into the press conference hall, flashes exploding like lightning strikes. Reporters shouted questions, their voices like arrows. Emma Carter said, "I was betrayed by Josh Miller." Olivia Reed stood beside her, posture fierce like a shield. Daniel Carter followed behind, tense, his silence bracing her spine. Josh Miller lurked at the back, his smirk faltering under the weight of her words. Emma Carter raised her voice. Emma Carter said, "I will not carry guilt that belongs to another. He fed lies, and you believed him." Olivia Reed said, "They hear the truth now, Emma." The reporters leaned in, pens scratching, cameras unblinking. Emma Carter's voice sliced through the chaos, more powerful than the flashbulbs. Daniel Carter whispered, "This is the fight they will never forget." Emma Carter's eyes met Josh Miller's across the room, defiance burning brighter than shame. Social media ignited like fire. Hashtags flipped overnight, some demanding justice for Emma Carter, others clinging to old ridicule. Emma Carter scrolled through the feeds, her face pale but her eyes unbroken. Emma Carter whispered, "They once mocked me, now they question him." Olivia Reed said, "Truth cracks lies louder than laughter." Daniel Carter sat nearby, scrolling with jaw clenched, silence finally standing beside her. Josh Miller went live, words spilling incoherently, rage shaking his mask. Emma Carter whispered, "The mob that destroyed me now hunts him." Olivia Reed said, "Justice bends slowly, but it bends." Daniel Carter whispered, "They finally see you." Emma Carter placed the phone down, her breath slow, steady. The battlefield had changed, not erased, but balanced. She was no longer only the headline. She was the survivor. Emma Carter climbed to the rooftop, storm winds lashing her hair. Rain fell in torrents, but she stood taller than the storm itself. Emma Carter said, "I will not hide anymore." Olivia Reed shouted, "You were never meant to hide." Daniel Carter stood behind her, his gaze steady, his silence now strength. Josh Miller's face flickered on a giant billboard, now branded with headlines exposing his betrayal. Emma Carter screamed into the storm, her voice cutting through thunder. Emma Carter said, "This is not my end." Olivia Reed said, "This is your defiance." Daniel Carter whispered, "The storm bends to you now." Lightning split the sky, illuminating her silhouette. Emma Carter stood drenched but unbroken, her name no longer only a wound, but a weapon reborn. The city below listened, not with laughter, but with awe. Emma Carter watched headlines flipping. Some called her brave, others still mocked her tears. Emma Carter said, "Redemption is never full." Olivia Reed whispered, "But truth has cracked the walls." Daniel Carter sat by the window, his silence softer than before. Josh Miller appeared on screens exposed, his influence crumbling. Emma Carter said, "They dragged me to ruins, but he built the fire." Olivia Reed said, "They see the embers now." Emma Carter closed her eyes, her breath deep with both weariness and strength. Daniel Carter whispered, "You are no longer alone in the storm." The weight had shifted, but scars remained. Emma Carter walked down the street, whispers following her. Some smiled, others sneered. Emma Carter said, "They still measure me by one tear." Olivia Reed said, "Let them measure. You are walking forward." Daniel Carter walked a step behind, glancing warily. Billboards once mocking her now showed news of Josh Miller's betrayal. Emma Carter whispered, "Their laughter has shifted targets, but it never ends." Olivia Reed said, "The world is cruel, Emma, but you are stronger now." Daniel Carter said softly, "Even silence can stand with you." Emma Carter raised her chin, fragile but unbroken. Emma Carter returned to the cafe, once empty, now holding a few supporters. A young woman said, "Your voice saved me once." Emma Carter's eyes watered, but she smiled faintly. Olivia Reed said, "You still matter." Daniel Carter stood in the corner, watching quietly. Emma Carter whispered, "They erased me, yet here you are." The supporter replied, "Strength is not never crying, it is standing again." Olivia Reed said, "You are seen for more than one headline." Emma Carter sat with them, hope fragile but real. Daniel Carter whispered, "Even ashes carry sparks." Emma Carter faced her family again. Relatives remained cautious, but some eyes softened. Emma Carter said, "Am I still a stranger at this table?" Olivia Reed said, "She is still Emma, not the meme." Daniel Carter finally said, "She is my sister." The room fell silent. Emma Carter whispered, "Your silence wounded me deeper than the world's judgment." Daniel Carter lowered his head and said, "I was afraid, but fear is no excuse." Emma Carter's tears fell again, but these were not mocked. Olivia Reed said, "This is where healing begins." Emma Carter stood at the park podium once more. A small crowd gathered, hesitant but listening. Emma Carter said, "I was broken before you all, but I rise to remind you, fragility does not erase strength." Olivia Reed clapped, breaking the silence. Daniel Carter stood beside her, his expression steady. The crowd slowly applauded, not thunderous but real. Emma Carter whispered, "This is not redemption, but it is a beginning." Olivia Reed said, "The beginning is enough." Daniel Carter said, "Your voice belongs here again." Emma Carter stood taller, her eyes alive with quiet fire. Emma Carter walked through the city square, her face still lingering on posters both mocking and defending her. Emma Carter said, "I am both their villain and their survivor." Olivia Reed said, "You are not what they call you, Emma." Daniel Carter followed quietly, his silence now a form of solidarity. Strangers stared, some whispering, others daring to smile faintly. Emma Carter whispered, "They will never erase my cracks." Olivia Reed said, "Cracks let the light in." Daniel Carter said, "And the world sees light again." Emma Carter's steps echoed against the stone pavement, heavier than the whispers. She knew the crowd still judged, but she walked taller than before. Emma Carter stopped in front of a digital billboard replaying her breakdown once more. Emma Carter said, "My tears still haunt me." Olivia Reed whispered, "They turned your pain into spectacle, but you turned it into strength." Daniel Carter stood behind, fists clenched as the clipped. Emma Carter whispered, "It will never leave me." Olivia Reed said, "It should not leave. It is proof that you are human." Daniel Carter said, "Even broken moments can carry fire." Emma Carter stared at her own crying face towering above her, her reflection mingling with the rain on the screen. Emma Carter returned to her apartment balcony, the city buzzing below. Emma Carter said, "This silence is mine now, not theirs." Olivia Reed stood by the railing, her eyes fixed on the skyline. Olivia Reed said, "You are more than the storm that tried to drown you." Daniel Carter sat inside by the open door, listening quietly. Emma Carter whispered, "I was their laughter, now I am their question." Olivia Reed said, "And questions last longer than mockery." Daniel Carter said, "They will not forget you, Emma, not as victim, but as voice." The city lights flickered like stars, bowing to her survival. Emma Carter revisited the rooftop where she once screamed against the storm. Tonight, it was calm. Emma Carter said, "This silence feels heavier than thunder." Olivia Reed said, "The storm gave you back your voice." Daniel Carter stood near the ledge, his gaze steady. Emma Carter whispered, "I will never be whole again." Olivia Reed said, "Wholeness is a lie. Strength is carrying the pieces." Daniel Carter said, "Even broken glass reflects the stars." Emma Carter looked at the city lights below, the scars within her matching the scars in the skyline. Emma Carter stood before a mirror again, no cracks this time, only her reflection staring back. Emma Carter whispered, "They loved me for strength until my tears became their laughter." Olivia Reed said, "And now they will remember both." Daniel Carter's reflection appeared beside hers, silent but no longer absent. Emma Carter said, "I am not erased, I am rewritten." Olivia Reed said, "Then let the world read you again." Emma Carter's eyes hardened into resolve. She whispered, "This is my scar, and it is my crown." The final blow was not her fall, but her refusal to vanish.